Hello, good evening. I'm Jake Weddington. I'm going to be your instructor tonight. Tonight we're going to talk about salvage and overhaul, okay? A couple of things we're going to learn about. We're going to learn about salvaging people's belongings, their items inside their home, okay? We're also going to talk about overhauling a fire, all right? So, can anybody tell me what overhauling is? What our main objective in overhauling is?
Well, make sure everything's put out.
Okay. We're going to check for hot spots. We're going to check for extensions, of the fire. There's multiple different ways that a fire can travel through a home, so you do need to check for multiple different extensions, okay? And you're going to check, especially in the, outside, just the outside of the burned area too, for any hot spots or extensions from there. You're going to check in your burned area. If you've got a sheetrock wall, for example, okay, all of this is burned, and the whole room's charred, but the sheetrock is still here, okay, this whole wall is still here. We're going to open up this wall and check inside this wall for any fire, for any hot spots, smoldering, insulation, anything can be inside that wall. The biggest thing with overhaul is the main objective here is we're trying to make sure that the fire's out so that we don't get a rekindle, okay? So we don't have to go back. So, because there's all too many times that you go to a room and contents fire, for example, all right? And we'll just say that they had a fire in the master bedroom of a home. You go in, you put the fire out, all right? But if you didn't do a thorough overhaul of that room, and you just nitpicked at it, you didn't tear the walls out, you didn't pull ceilings, you didn't do all that stuff, you're not going to find everything. And if you missed one thing inside the wall, that could cause a spark, cause a rekindle, and if nobody's around, or the homeowners are not staying there when they're staying with family due to the extensive damage that was caused from the fire earlier in the day, we'll say, in our jurisdiction, we've got a lot of homes that are way out off the road that people can't even see, So if that home and that fire rekindles inside that home, then who's to say it could be 20, 30 minutes before a neighbor ever sees anything, especially if it's in the middle of the night, people are asleep, the homeowner's not there, then we have to go back and their home's a complete loss, because 20 to 30 minutes after the fire's been burning, it's cooked everything inside that home. Chances are the home's burnt. It's probably roof collapsed. Everything's probably fell in on itself at that point anyways. And that's something that we want to try and avoid. We want to try and avoid, overhauls. And the salvage part comes in, we use tarps, we use multiple different objects. As you'll learn throughout this, there's ways that you can, funnel water out of a home, when you're spraying. You can try and funnel water back into a room, for example, a burnt room that's already been burnt. Why run the floors in this side of the home if it's still salvageable, okay? People have nice couches, nice furniture, there's multiple different things inside somebody's home that is of value to them. And, it's a valuable item to them, and that needs to be saved if we can save it. That's what we're there for. We're there to protect life and property, right? Okay, so moving on. All right. Fire resistive construction. Okay. Inside that, all right. What we're going to do with this is we're going to make sure that the fire's out. Okay. So as you can see right here, you have utility shafts. Fire can travel in, right? All right. What is a utility shaft? Okay.
Is it where the wires run up through the house?
Sure, could be wiring, could be it's a multiple story home. You have bathrooms on the second story. Chances are, that plumbing is running through the walls, down in towards the basement or the crawl space and then out into the sewer or septic, whichever it's on. In our case, in our jurisdiction, it's going to be a septic, but utility shafts, there's gaps, there's void spaces a lot of times around a pipe inside the walls that fire can travel through. Fire's going to take the path of least resistance, so it's going to move. If it can travel and it can go, it's going to go. Okay. pipe chases, that's what I was just explaining, okay? Doors or dampeners that did not close tightly, all right? I don't know if any of you've seen, UL has done a study on the, open door versus closed door in a bedroom. So you have a fire starts in your living room, your master bedroom's just outside of your living room. If you have your bedroom door closed, chances of survival are a lot higher. So what they're talking about here with doors that do not tightly close is if you have a door and it's just cracked open, okay, that fire can get through there, you know, because excuse me, it's going to follow the smoke, all right? And if it's burning the gases that are in the smoke and the smoke's going through the crack of that door, eventually the fire is going to make it through that door. So that could cause an extension of the fire in another room of the home that we didn't notice in the beginning. You know, in a wood frame, ordinary style, your typical home, okay, most homes are wood frame construction, whether they have siding, asbestos brick outsides. Inside, the structure of the home is wood. In most all standard homes, it's wood frame construction. You know, you don't see, you know, metal 2x4s in the walls. You don't see steel joists. You don't see that in your typical home. So most of that's going to be ordinary wood frame construction. Okay, so it's talking about, it says open every wall, ceiling, and the potential void spaces. All right, so we're going to open up all the walls in the burn room, especially. All right, we're going to pull all of the ceiling in that room. Why is that? Can anybody tell me? What if we pull the ceiling all the way through, but we don't pull this one particular spot in the ceiling? Could be fire in that particular spot that you didn't notice, okay? Because you didn't pull that particular spot, all right? So we're gonna pull every part of the ceiling, you know, and we're gonna pull every wall that we can. Now, does that mean that when we had a room and contents fire, and the fire was on this end of the house, that we need to go to the opposite end of the house and pull all the ceilings out of the bedrooms down there and all the walls out? Absolutely not, okay? If we had an attic fire, the fire ran through the attic, you might have to do that, okay? Because if you're checking for, again, overhaul, we're checking for hot spots, extensions of the fire. If the fire's burned through the attic, even if the point of origin was on this end of the house, okay, if it burned all the way through the attic to this end of the house, all right, you're gonna have hot spots in the ceilings on this end of the house. So a lot of times you may have to pull those ceilings, okay? Balloon frame construction. All right, balloon frame construction. Fire can spread from the basement to the attic without showing on other floors. Can anybody tell me why that is in balloon frame construction? Does anybody know what balloon frame construction is? That's right. It's an open walls. You know, there's no cross bracing in the walls. A lot of times it's just a complete open wall. There's nothing. So the fire, if it gets in here, you know, it has nothing to stop the fire from running all the way up into the attic, especially if it started in the basement or on one of the first floors. A lot of times in a balloon frame construction, you're going to see 2-story, 3-story houses to see that type of construction. Okay. Now, a careful overhaul of every floor is required in a balloon frame construction. Why is that? Because it's an open construction. That's right. Okay. So the walls are wide open. All right. Even though they're sheetrocked and you can't see that, there's still opening inside the wall where the fire could have traveled. So we are going to have to carefully overhaul, you know, every floor. Go through every floor, look, you know, we listen, we see. You know, your eyes are a good friend of yours during overhaul. You can use your eyes, you can listen, okay, your ears, all right? You're going to hear crackling noises sometimes. You're going to hear fire. You can hear fire burning inside a wall, you know, with your ears that you can't see with your eyes, all right? We'll touch on that a little bit in just a few short slides here, all right? Look for voids created by remodeling. I don't know how many homes you guys have been in that's been remodeled, but I can tell you, fighting a fire in some of them are nightmares because you get different people, okay, building different homes, all right? This guy, who's a carpenter, or who's a general contractor, and his company came in and built your home in the beginning, built it this way, okay? Well, you remodeled, you added on another bedroom, or well, let's say you just added on a mother-in-law suite, for example, all right? You added a mother-in-law suite onto your house. Well, you're gonna hire another company to come in and do that, all right? So they're gonna come in, they're gonna open that wall up, wherever they're adding on to, all right? They're gonna create a new foundation, they're gonna create new footers for it, they're gonna do all that kind of stuff, and then they're gonna slap it all together, okay? So what do we do when we open up a wall and add in a whole other room? Well, we potentially could have created void spaces, okay? Was it insulated correctly? You know, was it insulated properly? You know, was the electrical wires, the holes for the electrical wires caulked by code? You know, some codes require that, some cities' codes don't require things like that. But that creates void spaces, okay, for fire to travel in. You know, even in the ceilings, all right, you're gonna get there's false doors, okay? Why would we have false doors in a remodeled home?
They were a room they tore down, and sealed up the wall just like the door.
Could have been, okay? Could have been a room they tore down, and sealed up the wall, but they left the door. Well, why would they leave the door? Probably because they were doing it on a budget, more than likely. You know, and a lot of people, when they remodel, you know, or even build a home, they're doing it on a budget. Now, you're not gonna find, chances are you're not gonna find that in a home that's not been remodeled. You're gonna find that in a home that's been remodeled. But if they ran out of, you know, money in their budget, if it's just a door that's shut, you know, what does it matter? You know, you're gonna find false doors. You could find, you know, false attic doors. You know, there could have been an attic door right here at one point in time in this part of the hallway, but now that attic door is not there anymore. You know, they've covered it up, and there's a attic door over here at that point in time in the ceiling. You know, they just moved the attic door from here to here and created a new one. Here's what we were talking about, using your senses, okay? Look, all right? What can we see during overhaul if we're looking, okay? We see smoke, we see embers, we see burned areas, discolorations. What does it mean by discolorations, okay? Talks about, means, see, this wall is painted white. We're gonna use this wall for an example. It's painted white, okay? Well, over here, we had down through there, it was burned. All right, well now we're seeing a discoloration of the white on this wall. Okay, the color has changed, whether it be from heat, whether it be from smoke, whether it be from fire itself, that's either inside this wall or has burned down this wall somehow. Okay, it's going to discolor that wall. It's going to turn it a different color other than white. All right, peeling of paint or cracked plaster. Excuse me. Plaster, when it gets hot, will start cracking, okay? It'll start failing, all right? A lot of times plaster walls are built with wood slats in behind them, and they take and put the plaster over the top of it. And it's, for those of you that don't know it, it's almost like a concrete. It's similar to a concrete. It symbolizes a concrete. But they put the wood slats, they build a wall with wood slats in it. They're like one by wood slats behind the plaster. And that's what sticks, the plaster sticks to those wood slats, and that's what holds it up. Whereas sheetrock now, you know, it just goes up to the 2x4s, and then they sink the screws into the sheetrock to hold the sheetrock onto the wall. You know, there is no wood slats in behind it, you know, unless you run into a remodeled home. And in some cases you may, where it's an older home, they went in, they remodeled it, okay? They ripped all the plaster out, but instead of taking the time to rip all those wood slats down, they just stuck sheetrock over the top of it. You know, roofs are a perfect example of that. You know, we've fought many of fires in our jurisdiction, and I've seen many of fires and been on many of fires where you go to do a vertical ventilation, any type of roof operations, or even pulling ceilings, okay? And you get into we'll just call it like a modular home, somewhere that's something that doesn't have an attic space. It has a small void space, but it doesn't have an attic space that you're capable of getting in, okay? It does have a void space, okay? But if we go up through there and we hit, you may see 3 or 4 or 5 different roofs. You know, we ran a fire not too long ago, and one of the fires we ran, you guys were on as well. You know, there was multiple different roofs on that fire. You know, you could see it. I think it had a tin roof. It had 3 or 4 different shingled roofs, and so I think they shingled over the top of the shingles, and then the last roof that was put on was a tin roof. Okay, so using your senses by looking, you're looking for smoke, looking for embers, burned areas, discoloration, peeling of paint or cracked plaster. Paint is going to peel, okay? When paint gets hot, it starts bubbling up, it starts peeling, all right? So if this wall right here has been hot, okay? It's not been burned, it's not been charred, but it's been hot, and that means the paint is bubbling up. Do we need to open that up? Yes, sir. Yes, we need to open that up so that we can see what's behind that, okay? Because it could have been the heat from out here, but if there's a fire inside this wall, it could be the heat from inside this wall causing the paint to bubble as well, all right? Listen, again, I said that earlier, crackling sounds, okay? You can hear it if you're listening. You know, a lot of times, to be real honest, on a fire scene, you're going to have other people talking in the background. You're going to hear radio traffic, radio communications. You're going to have dispatch hollering over the radio for the instant commander. You're going to hear a lot of different communications. You know, you're going to hear the trucks outside. All right? The trucks outside are running, they're pumping, they're running at higher RPMs. You're going to be able to hear those. So it's going to be hard for you to hear cracking sounds or hissing sounds, but it can happen, okay? Now, if we're filling, okay, how do we fill a wall? We use the back side of our hand, okay? We use the back side of our hand to fill the wall. What would we be filling for if we're filling this wall? Filling for heat, okay? All right, so if we think we can fill that, okay? There was a fire we had about 3 years ago, and we were doing an overhaul in the fire, and we didn't have a thermal imaging camera available at the time, and there was a guy in the fire, and he was looking at a wall. He said, that looks like it's been burned before, or looks like it's been charred or burned in this. You know, the wall was discolored. He pulled his glove off and stuck his hand in the back of the wall. He said, man, that's awful hot. You know, it's warm. We opened it up. We found fire in behind it. Okay, so we were able to extinguish that. We were able to put that out. Okay. What can we do while we're doing overhaul to salvage people's belongings? What do we carry on our trucks? Tarps. Call them salvage tarps for a reason. Okay. Salvage tarps. We use them. What can we cover up with a salvage tarp? We can cover up couches. We can cover up love seats, recliners, stoves. You know, we can cover up multiple different things. You know, we can keep it all protected, you know, from falling debris or water. Because here's the thing: if we pull a ceiling or we spray water, okay, and it goes on a nice leather couch that the homeowner has, you could potentially ruin that leather couch. You know, even if it's a cloth couch or a suede, you know, you can potentially ruin that. But if we cover that up with a tarp, if there is fallen debris, fallen insulation, everything else, at the end, we can get a couple of guys, get together, grab one corner of the tarp, we all fold it together, take that debris, we move it off of that couch, okay? And that couch looks like nothing had ever been on it at that point. So we were able to salvage a couch that they had. We were able to salvage a love seat. We were able to salvage a recliner, stove. You know, there's multiple different things inside a home, again, that I had said earlier, that we can salvage. Okay? Thermal imagers. Displays minute differences in temperature. You can quickly identify areas that need to be open. How can we identify areas that need to be open with a thermal imaging camera?
They'll be hotter than areas.
Okay, they'll be hotter. All right. If this wall is, we shoot this wall right here with a thermal imaging camera, and it's 90 degrees. Do we need to open that wall up?
Depends on what the other walls look like. That's
Okay.
right.
There's a lot of factors that would play into that. Okay. Not always would you have to. Okay, but you at that point you would look for discoloration. You know, look for peel and paint. You know, feel it for heat. Feel how hot it is. You know, with the back of your hand. The thermal imaging camera, they can be wrong. You know, they're a computer device. They can be wrong. Okay, so. But it helps us identify areas that need to be open. So we shoot this wall and it's 140 degrees inside that wall or at that wall. Do we need to open that up? You bet. Sure we need to open that up because that's hot, okay? If you hit something and it's hotter than that, we need to open that up, okay? Because we're trying to, in the end, what we're trying to do is make sure that any and all fire that's inside that residence is out, okay? We went in, we made an interior attack, okay? We put the main fire out. So now we're doing an overhaul. We're going in, we're looking, we're feeling, we're listening, we're using thermal imaging cameras, we're pulling ceilings, we're pulling walls, okay? We're doing that so that we can find things that are still burning, okay, inside the wall. We can find fire in those void spaces. We can find fire, you know, in between those false doors. We can find fire in the attics that way, okay? So we're gonna pull that ceiling, that way we can open that up. Smoldering insulation, that's what you're gonna see a lot in overhaul. We did a pretty extensive overhaul in a home, mutual aid fire for a neighboring department. We mutuated them, went out, did an overhaul operation for them. We went in with a crew of guys, we pulled ceilings, we pulled walls. That fire ran through the attic of that place, okay? We pulled every ceiling in that house because the fire had ran through the entire attic of that house and we had to pull all of the ceilings. All right, you guys have any questions for me? Okay, so what have we learned today? We've learned about what? Overhaul. Salvage and overhaul, okay? What can a balloon frame construction create for us? Okay, create problems. Okay, what does a balloon frame construction mean to us? Fire's gonna travel quicker. Fire's gonna travel quicker. Okay, more void spaces. What do we have to do during overhaul for a balloon frame construction? Open every wall, or overhaul every floor. You have to overhaul every floor. That's right. Okay, so we need to make sure that we're checking every floor to be sure that there's no fire contained inside the walls in those floors, because a balloon frame construction would allow the fire to travel through the walls quickly. All right. What does a thermal imaging camera do for us?
Helps identify hot spots.
Okay, helps identify hot spots, helps identify heat. Okay. All right, so what senses do we use during overhaul?
Hearing, sight, and feel.
listen, and feel it, right? Okay, good. All right, guys, I hope we learned something tonight. All right, we're gonna be taking a test here in just a second. Okay, so if you guys will get ready for your test, I'll hand these out and we will let you guys take this test. All right, on this test, it's gonna ask you for your name, your date, and what department you're with, okay? If you would, please, when it asks you for department, just write out Mowbray Volunteer Fire Department, okay?